welcome back to my channel. I have been missing in action for a little while. I had a lot of things planned over Christmas baking, making my annual gingerbread house, all of that, but that didn't go to plan, unfortunately. We had a bushfire in our area, which started, I think it was the week before Christmas, in the southern part of the national park. At the time, it wasn't a threat to us, but of course, it was in an inaccessible area and it's so dry that the fire took off pretty easily and spread very quickly. So all our plans, everything got put on hold while we prepared our property and waited to see whether we were going to be impacted. Now, I think it was the Thursday evening before Christmas, we had a community meeting in our town, and we were told that our town was likely going to be impacted within the next 24 to 72 hours. So that pushed us into action. We put our fire plan in place. Our plan was to stay and defend our home. We were under emergency evacuation warnings, but they can't force that. We chose to stay, and that's a really personal choice. A lot of people do leave, and that is totally understandable. We felt that we were safe enough to defend our home. Our house is surrounded by a lot of cleared land, which means that it makes it a little easier to defend. However, you may be able to see behind me, I'm up at the back southern or southwest corner of our property, and we basically got hit by the fire twice. So on the Sunday before Christmas, we got an emergency warning in the afternoon to say that the fire was heading our way. And sorry if it's a little bit windy, the wind's just picked up, but the fire came from the southwest side, and it burned through. This is actually our creek, all the way along here. So it burned all the way along the creek down to the other end. So that's sort of at the back of our property. And it also burned along, there's my car out there, but along our back paddock, and all the way sort of up to the other end. So pretty much all of the land behind me here, there's some other people's properties in behind there, farmland and so on, has been burned as well. So it was frightening. First time we've ever experienced a bushfire, and it was so smoky I couldn't even see where it was burning. It wasn't until after it passed that I realised exactly where it had gone. It did also break out. I'll just turn around a little bit here, but it broke out down the southern end down there, and out towards the road, and then crossed the road into the paddock across the road from us. The firefighters got onto that pretty quickly, but that sort of, it got relatively close to our house, which is a bit further up that way. So yeah, we were really lucky. It didn't come close to our house, but it certainly burnt right across the back of our paddocks.
The fire burnt mostly around the perimeter of our house, and as you can see, we did have a lot of fencing damage, a lot of spots where there were gates and wooden posts. The wooden posts have been burnt out. Here we've just rested a gate up to try and stop our horses from escaping, but all of our wooden posts have been destroyed, so we have a fair bit of work to do. Not sure if you can see, but there are a couple of kangaroos still sitting out there. This is their home. There's no more shade and trees and grass for them though, but they're still hanging out here. I wasn't sure if it was injured, but it's just got up and it seems okay. So there's another one further down to the left here. Just trying to have a look. I think he's just sitting, just in the back there. Don't know if you can see it, just in there. I just like to check and make sure that they're not injured, but they seem okay. They're just still hanging out where they normally hang out. So this area here is our creek that we can walk down to the creek at the back of our property. Burned all the way through here, and over here is where we normally have a bridge. So there's normally a bridge across the creek there that's now all burned, apart from the metal pickets on either side. That's it. That's all that's left. And now I'm in the second paddock on the other side of our property. So again, you can see how much it's all burned through here and across into the paddock on the other side of our house. So the fire on the Sunday came all the way. I'm now at the northern end of our property, the back corner, and somehow it stopped here behind, and there's this little patch just behind me that's burned, but it stopped. I don't know if the wind changed direction, no idea what happened. But behind me there's still some trees along the creek line that didn't burn. So so it's basically come all the way from the southern end all the way along down to here, the back other corner of our house, and that was it for Sunday. And then our next day that we were concerned about was the day after Christmas, on Boxing Day, when the weather was really warm. It was originally predicted to be 40, but it ended up dropping to 36. Still very hot and really windy. So the winds were coming from the north for most of the day, which wasn't too much of a concern for us because we didn't have any fires burning to the north of us. In the days prior to Christmas and Christmas Day, I can't show you the mountain because I'm too far back, but the mountain that is our view behind us was all alight. It was all on fire, the whole thing. So what we were concerned about on the day after Christmas, on Boxing Day, was that the wind was going to change from a north to a west, and all of the national park is to the west of us. So the fact that all of that was burning
meant that that day was going to be pretty hairy. It was really windy. The wind shifted to the west in the early evening, around, I think it was around 5 o'clock or something like that. We were standing at our house, all prepared, watching a massive big, I'll try and put some photos or videos in, but massive big cloud of black smoke just coming towards us. It was frightening. It really was frightening. And just at the right time, as we were standing there watching this, all of the firefighters arrived at our house. We had CFA, which are volunteer firefighters, their trucks parked right at the back of our house, and some out in the paddock that I'm in out here. And we had forest firefighters as well, all turned up and were ready to help us. And I felt a whole lot more relieved once we had them there. So we're watching this big black, cloud of smoke coming up to the west of us, just behind me there. And as it got closer, I noticed it was moving, and it was moving more over to the north. And it actually came in. So I'm at the very back corner. That's the northern side and the back corner of our house. It came in through there and burned along the tree line to the north of our property here. So our fence line is here, so it actually mostly burned on the other side. So we were extremely lucky. I guess the fire likes fuel, and it tends to follow the trees, and so it's come in through the back and then just followed the trees all the way along, and then it just kept burning out that way. So I'll show some footage now of what it looks like out on the road that we drive in. It just looks nothing like what it normally looks like. It's normally all bushy and tree. You can't really see through much. There's lots of bushes to the side of the road. And now it just looks like a barren landscape. It's just the first time I drove out, which was a few days after Boxing Day, when I drove out and left the house for the first time, I was just absolutely amazed at how different you could have dropped me somewhere else, and I would not have, blindfolded, and I would not have known where I was, even though it's a road that I drive several times a day, and I'm very, very familiar with it. It just looks absolutely just different, and it's, I think, after the threat has passed, and yes, we've got some fencing, we've got some things to clean up, but we're very, very grateful that we're okay, and that we have our house and our shed, and we're okay. Unfortunately, there were some people who lost their homes. So, you kind of have that relief that you're okay and it's passed, and then after that you realise the devastation, and you just look at the burnt landscape. And I love where I live. I love living out here. It comes with risks, and this is one of them. But I go for walks out. I don't know if I can find. I'll see if I can find a video of me going out for a walk on the roads up the back of our property here, which is usually where I go for a walk. And now it just doesn't look anything like it normally does. And then I think it's then that you realise just how devastating these fires are and the damage that it does. And it will regrow. Of course it will. It'll take some time, but it will regrow. But, a lot of animals and all sorts of wildlife would have been affected. And, again, we were really lucky. We got our horses out early. They were actually gone for 2 weeks. So we got them out early. They weren't here. We have 4 sheep. They were fine. I was very, very relieved to see them, particularly after the Sunday when it burnt through quite a bit of our property. I was very relieved to see them out there, and they're all perfectly fine. So our animals are great. Unfortunately, in other areas, not so much. So this area just behind me, so this is sort of the northern part. Our house is just behind me there. This part is mostly unburned. There's a few patches through here that are, but it's mostly unburnt through to the house, and that's where our horses are. We've brought them back last week. There's not much feed left for them. I would say probably close to 50-60% of our grass, our paddocks and land has been burned. So they've only got a small section left. Thankfully, we are getting some donations of hay. There's a organisation called Need for Feed, where farmers in unaffected areas can donate bales of hay, and they come in trucks out to fire or flood affected areas. We've got a local family who are like a repository or depot for those donations, and we've been able to go and pick up some bales of hay from there for free to help feed our animals. And there are plenty of other farmers with a lot of stock who are going to be, needing feed for quite some time, because it's only December. Oh, actually, no, it's January now, but all of this happened in December. And yeah, we've got January and February to get through, which are traditionally fairly hot, dry, not a lot of rain, and not a lot of grass growth. So it's going to be a tricky time for a lot of people out this way on the eastern side of the Grampians National Park that it burnt out into, a lot of farmland and a lot of private property. So yeah, thankful for organisations like Need for Feed and farmers around the area that donate feed for people who are affected like us.